kingdom mentality and religion mentality are in two different spectrums. So when Jesus came to establish his kingdom, he found a Jewish mentality. He found religion. When Christ came and took the body of Jesus, he found religion. And religion used to assemble. Religion, they will assemble, but they were exclusive. For you to be part of that assembly, and I want you to listen to this, church, because I don't want Origin to make the mistake that they made, and because I've seen this mistake in a lot of other denominations. When we got our own little group, it's like, yeah, I got my group right here. This is my clique. This is my people. We connected. We know each other, and we got our own little assembly. And whoever comes from the outside, we make them feel uncomfortable. That's being exclusive. And one of the characteristics of a cult is to be exclusive. And we don't want to fall in that trap. That's religion. That's religion. When Jesus came, when Christ came in Jesus, and he walked this world, he saw people assembling, people that thought that they knew about God. They talked about God. They shared the Torah and all the books of the Old Testament, and they were assembled together, but they were not church. You see the difference between church and synagogue? The word synagogue, they held where the Jews used to assemble. Remember that Judaism is not equal to kingdom. There are two very different things. Now, the prefix son on the next indicates together. And we're talking here about synagogue. Prefix son indicates together. The expression ago or ego is to bring. The idea of a synagogue was to stay together and close inside. See the difference between church? You see the difference between church and synagogue? Synagogue is all about us. Synagogue is like, you know what? I come here and I do this in front of the wall. You see the Jews on the wall? That's what they do. You know, so they're reading the Torah and all that. Or they repeating it. You know, some of us, we do the same thing. We repeat every Sabbath. We're repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. All we know how to do is repeat, because all we have is religion. All we have is understanding of, I need to assemble as long as I come and I'm part and I'm in, not out. As long as I'm in, I'm good with God. That kind of mentality was the mentality Jesus Christ had to encounter when he came to this earth. And the problem that we see today is the same thing. We have thousands upon thousands of denominations in this country and in the whole world. And what we find is religion. Religion is against the ecclesia. Religion is Satan and man-made. Religion is a way of man saving himself, while Christ is the true salvation. Amen. So it is exactly what religion does. Religion, you know what it does? What we read here, which looks you up and sterilizes you. That's what it does. You know, we are pregnant with Jesus. We are pregnant with Christ, with the glory of Christ. We are pregnant as a child of God. You are pregnant with the glory of God. You are pregnant. You are to duplicate. That's what disciples do. They duplicate. When you have a lot of people in a building and they're not church, they don't duplicate. Because true believers, true disciples, they duplicate. Like this. Because all they do, they understand that they're carriers of God's glory. They're carriers of good news. And all they have in their mouth is good news. Why? Because they don't have time for nothing else. When you're stuck on the line to the good news of the gospel of the eternal revelation, you don't got time for nothing else. And if you don't got time for nothing else, then all you're talking is about the kingdom. And as you're walking in this world and you're doing church, you are a representative of the kingdom. You are an ambassador of the kingdom, and you are pregnant with the truth and the good news of the kingdom and the inheritance of the kingdom. And when you have contact with people, people are interested in you. But the question is, when people are, when we're doing religion is all the opposite. Religion is you got to do, you got to take. Religious people are always judgmental and always looking for flaws in other people's. Why religious people do that? Because they know they got flaws, so they got to point fingers. So if I'm doing worse than you, and you find out, then you have something to brag about. Oh, you know what? He ain't better. All that word that he preaches and all that he says and all he do. At the end of the day, he's messed up too. Well, amen for that. If you are messed up, those are the people God uses. Church, the broken. Remember, religious people always think that they got it all correct. That's why we have a society that is out there and we're in here. That's why we have a world that we need to, instead of going and impacting, we're staying over here. It's like, you know what? No, I got it good here. I got my clique here. I got my crowd here. I got my people here. I know them. They know me. And we're good. And I don't want to expose myself. Religious people don't want to be exposed. While the children of the kingdom are constantly exposed. When you see the Bible, Jesus is correct on this. When Jesus established the church, no wonder he permitted persecution to come to the church in the early age church. He wanted the church to go out. He wanted the church to go out. So he said, you know what? I got a way of making you go out. God has ways of making you humble. God has ways of waking you up. God has ways of transforming you, and they might hurt. When I hit the gym, when I was in the federal joint, I was 19 years old, and somebody said, yo, you want to work out and get big? And I was like, yeah, I want to get big. Well, no pain, no gain. And God has ways of bringing gain to your life and to the kingdom, but it's going to cost you pain. And it's okay, though, if you want to be saved. But you gotta give up that religious mentality and that synagogue mentality and that mentality of sheep, of bah. And start owning what you really are, a child of God.